Nami looked at Luffy, who was sitting at the entrance of the cave, his back leaned against the stone wall, as he watched the rain with an impatient look on his face. If that was going to last too long, Sanji will come and he won't have what to cook. That thought just couldn't stop bothering the poor guy. As she watched him, the orange-haired girl just couldn't stop blushing. How did it come to this? Again, it was just so curious how she always ended up with him in tight spaces like those. Her heart was pounding at the mere thought of him hugging her again. She really wanted to feel the heat of his body just like that morning. She wanted to laugh with him as they cuddled in bed. But Luffy just wouldn't do anything this time. Aside from trying to count the raindrops while shivering with impatience, he wouldn't do anything else. Or so she thought, because little did she know, Luffy was secretly fighting himself, trying to decide what to do. He seriously thought that he should ease up on her until he could finally find the courage to talk to her, just like Sabo advised him. He thought that that was a good time to tell her how he felt, but his pounding heart felt like closing his mouth shut. He didn't seem to be able to find the strength to start talking about something like that. Nami, on the other hand, couldn't stop thinking about her little talk with Robin at the Den Den Mushi, the night before. Robin was always right and Nami only knew just what of a good observer he friend was. There was not a single thing that went unnoticed by her, and that's why she knew she could trust the raven-haired woman when she said Luffy liked her. Even so, she found it so hard to comprehend. It just seemed so unbelievable. Luffy having feelings of this kind towards her. But she couldn't just stand there and wait for good things to happen to her. She did nothing really to get closer to Luffy so far. Every time they ended up falling asleep hugged, every time they got closer, it was all Luffy's doing. That's why, at that moment, she pushed all the thoughts bothering her aside, stood up and walked to Luffy's side, catching his attention. She then casually sat in his lap, took his hand and wrapped it around herself as she cuddled at his chest. Even though she looked calm while doing it, her heart felt like bursting out of her chest. Luffy couldn't move for a few seconds, that before he hugged her closer and placed a kiss on her forehead. He thought it was so weird as up to that point, the orange-haired girl never did something like that, and so straightforward too, but he couldn't help but smile with all of his heart. Now he was really encouraged to talk to her. Even so, he still decided that wasn't the time. He just wanted to enjoy those moments at their fullest, as always. It didn't matter to him that that was just an excuse, because he, still, was scared of what might come after the talk he was supposed to have with her. Carrot, carrot, carrot. Both Koala and Sabo were sitting in the tight cave, watching the rain outside. The smell of the wet mud as well as the sound of the raindrops splashing on the ground made a nice and calm atmosphere. At one point, Koala broke the comfortable silence and spoke. "Say, Sabo. Is there anything wrong with you and Luffy? Why would you even ask that?" The blonde man defended himself, trying to hide his true feelings. "Don't give me that crap." Despite her tough words, her voice was calm and warm. "Tell me. What's going on?" A deep sigh from Sabo made the orange-haired girl understand that he had given an eye. How should I put this? It's just that, I look at him and see just how much he has grown. After my memories came back just 2 years ago, I could only remember their children faces, and all this makes me realize just how much of their lives I've missed. Koala remained silent and just looked at Sabo with sad eyes. 2 years ago, all I could remember about Luffy was that small, cute crybaby with his eyes set on the biggest goal someone could have in this world. His goal is the same even now, the only difference is that now he is so much closer to it. I can remember the days when me and Ace trained him and helped him control his devil fruit powers like they were yesterday, and then I look at him as he is now. He's leading an infamous pirate crew that never failed to surpass everyone's expectations. Promoted stories. You'll also like Water Pillar, One Piece X Reader 4.9K160 as. The Strafuts sail across the sea in hopes of reaching Alabasta to stop a civil war. They come across an island. An island not found in any maps. In this island stand Daughter of the Sea, One Piece 29.7K1 Kyo, are invited to read the tales of the woman who would soon rule the hearts of many in the seas alongside the Strafut pirates. One Piece X Black Reader Majority of T. Luffy's Death 10K163. This is life for every person who has a specific time to live, but sometimes life is unfair in estimating lifespans. Evil people take longer lives than good people, but what's your choice going to be? Zoro X Tash, 51,337, with Tashigi getting left behind by the G5 due to the Joker sending too many ships for the G5 and the Strafuts to handle. They have to figure out a escape to get to TH. Sanji's Siren Song 2404. What would happen to a siren in love with the cook of the Straw Hat Pirates? Will it be a love story or a grim fairy tale ending? I have only watched the live-action S. The Cursed Pirate 1 page. 10.1K 181 asterisk. Asterisk. My story began when I was a young and naive, but that day, when everything seemed normal, that was the day, when everything. One Piece. The Raptor Pirates soar 1.9K 27 Cerberus. D. Rex. Once a young child in the East Blue. On an island where all he does was train and train, basically a martial art island. But his heart wasn't in it. He only made a short pause before continuing. Even though he found it rather heartbreaking speaking his mind, for some reason he just couldn't stop. It was the first time he realized just how much worse it hurts saying those things than just thinking them. Even so, he just couldn't stop. The same goes for Ace. I can only remember that one time we had a big fight because Ace wouldn't tell us anything about his father, Gol D. Roger. Only he knew just what of a burden that name he carried was. He could hear people in town always speak of his father like he was the lowest scum. I remember him doing his best to hide his true identity, and then I wake up years later to read an announcement in the newspaper. Fire Fist Ace, son of the Pirate King, Gold Roger, has died on the battlefield. I then found out that he was a 2nd Division commander in Whitebeard's crew and that the name of Fire Fist sent shivers down one's spine just from hearing it in the distance. I've been told by Luffy's crew when we first met, that when they met Ace, they just couldn't believe he was Luffy's brother as he was so polite. And then I think of how we used to beat up people and steal money and food from expensive restaurants. He had, oh, such a sad smile on his face as he felt his heart break into little pieces. I just can't stop wondering, where did all those years go? Where did the time fly to? My heart is filled with regret and it feels heavier than the whole world. That's why, I don't want any more regrets. So I'm telling you this right now. No matter how far I am or on what most important mission I am, if Luffy ever faced danger, I will be by his side, no matter what. Koala just nodded as a warm tear rolled down her cheek. She felt so powerless, seeing her beloved friend in that state and not being able to do anything. Even so, she was happy that he himself found something to motivate him to come out of that dark place. What is gone for good, so the only thing that remains to be done is to focus on what we still have left. Carrot, carrot, carrot. Luffy giggled as a cold drop of water fell on his nose. The rain was about to stop, even he could realize that. He didn't want it to. The atmosphere was so peaceful. The two looked like they were a long married couple, enjoying a few moments together while their children were out, playing. The noise of their pounding hearts was only covered by the sound of the rain. Nami couldn't erase her big smile while her thin and fragile hands were wrapped around her captain's chest. She had already gotten used to being held by Luffy, and yet she just couldn't have enough of his hands holding her tight, of the heat of his body as their bodies were so close to one another, and of the sound of his racing heart as her head was resting on his chest. She thought it all felt like that one time when Belmir managed to save up some money and bought her and Nojiko chocolate for the first time. She just couldn't stop eating and wanted even more. It was the same with Luffy. Yes, that's right, Luffy was the most delicious, good-looking chocolate ever. The orange-haired girl giggled with a small blush at that one last thought, and she lifted her head just to meet Luffy's eyes. The raven-haired boy was looking at her with so much love that seemed to have no boundaries. Of course, Nami didn't realize that, but his gaze felt like seeing right through her, piercing her racing heart with a million of spears. Her face turned completely red as she felt like he could see her heart in that moment, like he could read her mind, like he knew everything that she felt in that moment. His look made her feel like the whole world was being put on her shoulders. Even so, she couldn't take her eyes off him. In that very moment, they, for the first time, felt like one. One soul, one heart, and one mind in two different bodies. This is how you should know you are fated to the one next to you. When you feel that if you'd let go, you'd lose half of your existence. That was the only thought that crossed their mind at that moment. Letting himself get carried away by that irreplaceable, unforgettable feeling, Luffy opened his mouth to speak. He was about to tell her just how much he loves her. He was about to tell her just how much she means to him, how she made him go crazy every time he saw her, how he could never live without her. He was about to tell her just how much he needed her. Nami, I Luffy. Sabo's call forced the two back to reality and made them realize that the rain had stopped and that it was already late in the afternoon. Just for how long did they stay there, just watching each other? There were a few moments of silence that followed next, in which both Nami and Luffy made their best to separate from each other. Yeah, we're coming, Luffy finally answered while helping Nami stand up too. Even after she was standing, he refused to let go of her hand. He didn't want to let go of that frail hand again. Ever. Asterisk. The beast hunt went on for the rest of the afternoon with fights, cheers and scores going up. The four returned to the base only when it was already dark, with so many animals that people wondered how they were able to carry them all the way back. Sabo and Luffy won the competition, as expected. The number of monsters the girls caught wasn't to be ignored, though. Shishishi. Looks like we won, Luffy happily shouted while walking along the hallways to get to the kitchen. Yeah, Sabo giggled. We showed them. Don't get so cocky. We'll win next time for sure. Ain't that right, Nami? Koala bravely stated while looking to her friend for support. Hey, damn right, we just went easy on you two this time. I hope you enjoyed it, because this is the last time we gave you this chance. The orange-haired girl smirked. Shishish, see, we'd win with one arm each, either way. Even thought they couldn't stop teasing each other. They all had a great time and it didn't really matter who won. Sabo-san, reporting. This morning, soon after you left, the Straw Hats called to give us a fill-in. It seems that everything went smoothly. They should be here by tomorrow morning. Really, Luffy was so excited to see his crew again, no matter it's only been a few days since they've been apart. That's so good to hear. Sabo smiled to his little brother. Well, of course he didn't want Luffy's crew to get there so soon. He wanted Luffy to stay for a while longer. As for our people, they're escorting Warlord Hancock to the Red Line so her crew could return to Grand Line, because she said she had lost her log pose in a storm. We believe she gave it to the Straw Hats, though. Good. Tell them to come back as soon as possible. If they meet the Marines on their way, things are gonna get complicated. Yes. The man saluted again and turned the other way around. leaving the four alone in the dining hall where there was dinner waiting for them. Asterisk. Nami jumped in the soft bed as soon as she entered her room. She laid down and closed her eyes, ready to sleep. Of course there was no way she'd be able to peacefully fall asleep. The thought of Luffy being just in the other room kept her awake, making her heart beat crazy-like. She wanted to call Robin, but she knew it was too late in the night, so she just stood there watching the full moon. How nice, she whispered almost involuntary. The moon is so beautiful tonight. I'm back from the dead, guys. I'm truly sorry for updating so late and I want to thank you all for having patience. As always, I hope you like it and I'll see you next time. Where stories live. Discover now.